Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, another major drug bust coming in from the Family Islands. We've got the details, so stay tuned.
Also tonight, ZNS News and police on the scene of the latest homicide.
And going for gold, the Carifta track and field team making its way to Martinique. The Bahamas tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Police bust another drug stash, this time worth millions and on a family island. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us. Police say they are intensifying their efforts to ensure that drugs don't end up on the streets.
A drug load was brought in from Exuma and Ragged Island today, and as Janaea Noel Ferguson tells us tonight, law enforcement officers are seeing a trend as smugglers frequently use remote family islands to stash their illegal drugs.
A small plane and helicopter brought the bundles of packaged marijuana found in the Exuma and Ragged Island Keys to the capital at the Odyssey Airport on Thursday. Officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit stood at arm's guard as the packages were counted.
We were able to retrieve a number of suspected marijuana packages, some 88 packages, and we believe the estimate weight to be somewhere 3,000 pounds, with an estimated street value of $3 million.
Officer in charge of the DEU, ASP Samuel Butler, says after a weeks-long investigation, they were able to seize the drugs believed to be the efforts of an organized operation.
Watching our intelligence level on a number of trafficking organizations in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and we know that they are persistent, but the Drug Enforcement Unit is more persistent, more formidable in going after the interdiction. Common trend in terms of relaying the trafficking of drugs using the various, as again I said, the remote island chains, and then the collaboration among the drug trafficking organization, assisting each other to move drugs from one point to another.
And while no one is being held by police in connection with the discovery, Butler thanked the communities for assisting police. He says they hope to make an arrest soon.
Who they are, and we will be speaking back to those persons, and we believe that we will have some persons charged, perhaps in the near future, as relates to this matter.
This is another major success for officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and they say their efforts won't hold up to ensure that drugs remain off our streets. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Meanwhile, the violence and bloodshed continues as Holy Week proves to be one of the most violent ones in recent times. Another murder was recorded early this morning when police were called to the scene of a double shooting on Key West Street. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, says the incident took place shortly after midnight when three men walking in the area got into an argument.
Our preliminary investigation reveals that shortly before the call came in, that these three persons were walking together south along this Key West Street when the men got into an argument among themselves, and there was an exchange of gunshots, which resulted in at least two. The deceased was shot to the head and the chest, and the second victim that was transported to hospital was shot to the shoulder and to the stomach. And so we appeal again to persons who may have information that can help us to resolve this, to come forward and let us act on it.
The CDU chief says the men involved in the shooting knew each other. He says the deceased man was shot in the head, while the man undergoing surgery was shot in the shoulder and stomach. Police are also seeking a third male in connection with the incident, who they say is key to recovering the weapons used in the shooting. Superintendent Roll appealed to members of the public for assistance in bringing closure to the matter. Police believe the gun wars won't stop until we rid the streets from these illegal weapons.
All right, Clint Watson tonight tells us about the efforts being launched by police and an all too familiar cry for partnership with the public.
This Holy Week will go down in history as perhaps one of the most violent and deadly. Already we've recorded 7 shootings in 24 hours, 2 of them fatal. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, confirms that more and more crimes are being committed with illegal firearms, which police are uncovering are being smuggled into the country. However, Superintendent Roll admits that gun crimes remain of serious concern primarily because those guns that make it onto the streets are not being turned in.
We have been saying to persons and family members forever that if they know their family members have weapons, to encourage them to turn these weapons in. It's even more concerning when persons without any kind of provocation are prepared to use these firearms.
Now already this week, several persons have been arrested and charged for smuggling firearms. And early Thursday morning, as a result of spot-on police intelligence, a 37-year-old woman, along with 3 men ages 43, 31, 22, and a 15-year-old juvenile male were arrested for possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition. The arrest taking place around 3 a.m. at a home on Rock Crusher Road. Flying Squad and Mobile Division officers uncovered 2 handguns, a shotgun, and some marijuana. Director of the National Crime Prevention Office, Superintendent Stephen Dean, says they're responding to the recent spike in shootings with saturation patrols and a heavy presence in communities with high rates of crime.
You will see as soon as today increase of police patrols on the road. You will see more persons from the top command of the force will be out in full force because we know that this is a weekend that's coming up. That is concerned to us. We want to make sure that people are safe this weekend because people will be traversing throughout the entire country.
Superintendent Dean is also encouraging you to report matters to police before they escalate. He says people are aware of these conflicts for weeks before any serious incident takes place. He called on the nation to come together.
So we're appealing to even community leaders like the pastors and the stalwarts in the community. We want them to come together. I think this is the time for everybody to rally around because it's a serious spear at a crossroad with these homicides just happening so frequently. So we do need the help, and it's not an isolated thing that the police can do it alone. So we are appealing to community leaders to come and sit down to the table with us, that be an influence in your community, be a role model in these communities for the young men, provide opportunities for them.
Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Well, the police are aggressively hitting the streets this upcoming Easter holiday weekend, all in an effort to make sure the public is safe. Press liaison officer for the police force, Superintendent Stephen Dean, is advising Bahamians to be cautious when going out this weekend, whether it's to the beach or for a drive. Motorists are being asked to be patient, observe the speed limit, wear seat belts, and if you plan to consume alcohol, assign a designated driver.
We want to warn persons who are going to the beach to please do not swim alone. Particularly to parents, pay attention to your children. Keep your children within view or under your care of yourself or a responsible adult at all times. Do not let them get out of sight. Persons, if you cannot swim, do not go out into the deep. Swim, be at the shoreline.
Now, while many Bahamians have party plans this weekend, Mr. Dean is strongly cautioning against excessively loud music. He said if caught, the parties will be shut down immediately. It's an area Mr. Dean says the police are serious about and will closely monitor to ensure those offenders are caught. He stressed that this not only applies to business owners but residents as well.
The minute you hear some loud music just begin to start, or you see someone setting up, please call the police. It's an offense to be disrupting the peace, to be disturbing people. It is an offense.
Well, still ahead tonight, one company gives back to the community.
And the Grifter track and field team, it's on its way to Martinique. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.